What's up, Dick? It's time for the Real Nigga Podcast. Now, we finna get into the news right quick, you know what I'm saying? As far as XTV. Alright? Word. Now, first on it, it's two big stories, you know. I'm just gonna read two, you know what I'm saying? But the first story is D-Tape is set to be the first XTV star to go into this Shook Ones challenge. Now, those of you that don't know what the Shook Ones challenge is basically different people freestyling over the Shook Ones Part 2 beat by Mobb Deep. I rhyme. I can be on the Shook Ones challenge. Anyway, you know, a lot of people, you know, they suck. But a lot of people are really good. Like Cool Joe Weezy. Check his shit out. That shit was dope. A few other people, you know what I'm saying? I've seen a lot of them. But, you know, if you want to know my opinion on this, I think it's very intelligent. Right now, we at a point in XTV where we have a lot of projects, you know what I'm saying, we working on at the moment. And, you know, what better way to build up buzz or anticipation or have an audience already waiting, you know what I'm saying, than to put some shit out, you know what I'm saying, to get more audience, you know, more notoriety and different shit like that, you know what I'm saying. And on top of that, shit, when the Cosby Show dropped and when, you know, all these other different projects dropped, that go out views already, you know what I'm saying, because you got something that people are familiar with. But, you know, I think it's a good look, you know what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure people are ready to ride his ass. You know, D-Tape is known to be off beat. I don't care what no niggas say. That nigga is known to be off beat on every single... Remember 2011, niggas. 2011, D-Tape. Don't do it again. But anyway, that's the first, you know, big major news. But shout out to D-Tape, man. He do his thing. The second thing is the XTV Halloween project now. This is a project that just kind of came out of nowhere. We just kind of found the audio recording that we did November 4th, 2012 or 13, and we just kind of found it. We thought we lost this shit. And, I mean, if we can find shit like this, there is still hope for that first Fresh Prince episode. But anyway, so, you know, we just kind of found this shit and listened to it, laughed our ass off, and sped it up and laughed even harder. You know what I mean? And so far, the progress with that, I'm seeing it. You know, I'm not a part of it, but I'm seeing it. It's progressing pretty fast. I would say it's about a good 40% finished. You know, right now. That's something we're gonna work on, like probably as soon as, you know, we get out of here. And you know, it's something that I am looking forward to. Like I said, I'm not a part of it, but what I like most about the recording is that it's not just centered around one star, you know what I'm saying? It's Big Trunks, he on there, it's Killer, and everybody has a special part. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just one person's point of view. It ain't just a one person story. I think a lot of times it makes TV, you know, we just get stuck doing a one view kind of story, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Just his perspective. You know what I mean? When there's multiple people in his room, but we focusing on just this opinion, this vision. You know what I mean? The Joe Show was like that. It was just always, you know, his philosophy. It wasn't never him putting other ideas in there. You know, this is a big project and a big step for XTV. So, you know, that's something I'm looking forward to. And, you know, I hope this shit is finished by October 31st. XTV is always bootleg. We change our release dates more than Cash Money and Chief Keef combined. No disrespect to them artists. But that's just how it is, you know what I'm saying? And that's the news for right now. But tonight's guest on the Real Nigga Podcast, gotta make it big for him, you know what I'm saying? He came in, you know, with immediate popularity. But he fell off so bad, you know what I mean, at one point, where people wasn't trying to see what he was doing, no matter how good it was. You know what I mean? he can find the cure of AIDS, but people still hated him. It was really bad at one point. And for those of you that don't know him, he allowed to tell his story. In my opinion, he one of the greatest athletes. You know what I mean? And people don't give him enough credit for that. Like I said, when I was talking about the Halloween shit, XTV is kind of sometimes one-dimensional. You know what I mean? And I feel like when he was on his rock bottom, if you will, it was like the world was against him and everybody just agreed, fuck him, fuck him, fuck him, and nobody listened to his opinion. You know what I'm saying? And but we here to go on this journey. You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, my guest this evening is the best. What's up, man? What's going on, bro? Damn, best. I mean, it's good to see you. Good to see you too. Yeah. So best, you first came here in '99. What was life like before the fame? Well, I was born in Orlando, Florida. To my mom, my dad left. You know what I'm saying? He left me, and I had 3 other brothers, and he left all of us. I guess the story with that is, he was just a in and out kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like I know from one of my brothers. You know what I mean? God rest his soul. One of my brothers, he said that, sometimes my dad would have this argument with my mom. Like, they just didn't really get along. From what I understand, they were both drunk and, on substance and different things like that. So, they had my oldest brother, during that process of being drunk and high, so they had to raise the baby, or whatever, because I guess they had morals even though they were fucked up. But, so, they argued and break up, and I guess I was just the last child to, be a part of that breakup, because he really didn't come back after that. I haven't seen him to this day, you know what I mean? I don't know if he is alive or dead, I just know that, for whatever reason he left. I don't know what the argument was about. Like I said, one of my brothers, he just said, they argued, and, it was just me, my mom, and my other 3 brothers. You know what I mean? What was their name, Dak? It was Jim. There was Ronnie. I wasn't that close with my brothers, but I knew Jim, Ronnie, and Alex. You know what I mean? And those were all my 3 brothers. You know what I mean? Sound like you just made that up. Shut up. What? Nothing. Anyway, it's just that, it was just us. Like, once our dad left, I was a baby, so I was the youngest, and my mom, she abused substance. You know what I mean? She was very heavy into drugs, so you never knew which mom you were going to get that day. You know what I mean? You didn't know if you were going to get the zoned out high mom, or if you were going to get the, get your ass up and go to school, because you're not staying here right now. You know what I mean? You didn't know what you were getting. It wasn't physical abuse, but it was a lot of verbal abuse going on, at that time with her. And as far as my brothers, they bullied me. You know what I mean? All 3 of them, because I was the youngest one, and they didn't have proper guidance with my dad just leaving, and then my mom on all the different substances and all the things going on with her. So it was just me. It was just 4 boys, no mom and dad really. You know what I mean? Surviving on our own. And she forced us to do everything. She forced us to do good morals. You know what I mean? Like, take your ass to school, read that fucking book, do that homework right. You know what I mean? And she was just really tough. You know what I mean? And even if you did something good, like I remember one time, Ronnie, my brother, like he got the honor roll. You know what I mean? And he worked really hard to really get that. He came home, and she was like, I don't give a fuck. It's not making money, so why would I care? You know what I mean? That's exactly what she said. And seeing that, I think I was like maybe 5 or 6. It's like seeing shit like that made me, like, further help me realize, like, you know, this shit's not cool, you know what I mean? Because school life was different. Like, you know, I remember my teacher, man, like sometimes just she was really caring. Her name was Miss Daniels, and she just used to care, man. Like, she used to really just sit there with all the kids and, you know, really talk to them and really help them, teach them things, you know what I'm saying? She'll see you after class and, you know, help you more with the homework. I wish she'll see me at the class so I can hit that click, hit that click, hit that click. I'm sorry, Dak. I know that was inappropriate. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I do wish that I would have hit that click. Hit that click. Yeah. You know, you bullshit. Shit. Real nigga podcast. But yeah, you know, she just was so caring. She used to pull kids after school and just like, you know, like it like help you with that homework. You know what I'm saying? And I remember one time, like, I stayed there the whole time. I actually knew the homework that I had to do. I just really loved the way she would tutor. Like, I was just kind of like going in my head, like, man, she really cares. I wonder if she would really stay with me after school, like for a long ass time. And I was going, like, school closed around 2, you know what I mean? Or kids were out of school like around 2 at the time. And, you know, she's like I'm like, I need help with this math homework or whatever. And, you know, it's like going from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. And I'm sitting here like, bro, she cares. Like, she really cares. And it was just a test to see, you know, because I never really experienced that kind of care growing up. Like, my mom's gone, you know, on drugs. My dad, you know, he left. So it was like, it was new for me, you know what I mean, to have this experience with somebody like Miss Daniels, my teacher. So it was like, I used to just like really stay. And I remember, you know, my mom came up to the school, like, and, you know, she was like, Bess, get your ass over here. You know what I'm saying? I'm worried sick about you. And since I'm so fucking worried, I'm going to kick your ass. You know what I mean? And Miss Daniels tried to intervene, and she was like, not right now, missus. And, you know, she grabs me by my hand. We go to the house. I got my ass tore up. You know what I mean? But it was like, man, you know, damn, Dad. I mean, did you have any other family members? No. At this point, like, everybody gave up on my mom, you know what I mean? Because she was so damaged, like, nobody cared to lend a helping hand, you know what I mean? Because they dealt with her before I dealt with her, before my brothers dealt with her, so nobody wanted nothing to do with her. And they seen us as all doomed, me and my brothers. They didn't care, you know what I mean? And, you know, that's my early story, though, like, the lowest of low points, you know what I mean? And, I still, you know, kept good grades, though. You know what I mean? My mom did instill something good in me, I guess, to keep going, you know. And I just kept going and going and going and going and just doing the best I could. You know, me and my brothers, you know, in this trailer. You know what I'm saying? And, shit. We'll be right back, Dad, after this brief. Back to the Real Nigga Podcast. So, Bess, you, Heidi is texting. Shut up, Dad. Talking to my B. Anyway, so, living in a trailer with your brothers, doing good in school. What happens after a while? My older brother, Ronnie, gets a job. You know what I mean? He's a carpenter. And, you know, she just showed favoritism to them after a while because in her sight, she seen money as good, you know what I mean? Like just as everything, you know what I mean? That was her mentality. Get education so you can get the knowledge and get the degrees so you can make money. You know what I mean? It wasn't like get the education, get the knowledge, and have a good life and love what you're doing. Because my brothers, ultimately, like all of them, they hated their jobs that they got. You know what I mean? Like they were just doing it to please our mom. You know what I mean? Because they wanted some type of love. Like eventually you're gonna get to an age in your life where you're like, nah, dude, I need love. You know what I mean? From somebody. Because you go to school, you go to the Halloween dance with all the kids, and you see, you know, kids and their moms, you know, all getting along. You know, and it's like that shit makes you feel some type of way when you don't have that at home. So you try to force it on yourself. So you force yourself into positions like getting a job, or, you know, doing whatever it is to make her happy. Clipping her toenails in the middle of the night, you know what I mean? Because she's too drunk to clip them. And, you know, she got to a point where, you know, she wasn't taking good care of herself, and she became a diabetic. So, you know, she didn't want to cut herself because, you know, what goes on with that. So she would have one of us cut it, and, you know what I mean? That was our way, like, you know, slaving for love of our own mother. You know what I'm saying? And for me, like I said, Miss Daniels was a good teacher. You know what I'm saying? And she just told me, like, I think one time my mom cursed me out in front of the whole class. I don't know what she had said. You know what I mean? But I remember my teacher was just like, look, you're going to be something. Despite what, you know, all these odds you're up against, let me just let you know, sweetie, it's going to get worse. And you're going to feel horrible. But it's going to pay off. Oh, shit. Got to cut the light off. But, you know. Right, Dick. So, moving on, where we at now? I always forget to cut that shit off. So you was bullied by your brothers, and your brothers was damn slaves for your mama love. Shit sound like some crazy shit. At what age did you finally decide to leave that shit? I was 18. You know what I'm saying? And I remember just leaving, dude. Like, I just had left, you know, and I didn't care about being homeless at all. You know what I'm saying? And is, I mean, yeah, Doug, go ahead. I'm reading. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, running away. Yeah, man, I didn't care about being homeless or anything, you know what I'm saying? I just wanted peace, you know, because I wasn't having it at the house. Like I said, my brother would bully me and shit, you know, all the different things I did, you know, they would be the punishment. Because it got to a point where my mom was so sick, you know, where she couldn't get up and beat me, you know what I'm saying, and, you know, do anything. So they were like still trying to get her love and shit or whatever. Where they just you know, wind up just saying, fuck it, I'm just gonna beat Best anytime he says something stupid just to make mom smile or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was my early life, and you know, leaving home was just, I felt at peace, even though I was homeless for like a few years. I didn't panhandle or anything, you know, I kept myself up, and, you know, I just was like at a crossroads. I was like, man, I'll do anything at this point. You know what I'm saying? And, I seen they were auditioning for A Bug's Life and shit, you know, and I'm turning this fan on 3. So I kind of fucking messed the recording up, but it's cool. Anyway. So they had, you know, asked for auditions, and I just did my best. You know what I mean? And as a result, they chose me for that role. And, you know, I think they didn't make a sequel for whatever reason. And, you know, shit, I just came to XTV. Now, was XTV a last minute decision? You gotta understand, 90, I just really wanted a new life at this point. And yeah, you know, it was just like, fuck it, I'll just go to XTV. You know, and Payne took me under his wing. You know what I'm saying? And like we did A Bug's Life, the show, in 1999 because Super Duper just got a PlayStation. So it was like, man, all these new possibilities was coming in his mind. And, you know, he was just like, man, let's just get that shit and let's see what it does. And, you know, Payne was like, just there, you know, and you know, Payne gets a bad rep, you know what I'm saying, but he did break a lot of people in the business. You know, he broke me in, he broke Killer in, and even though, you know, Killer didn't have a big role, Payne could have not broke him in, you know what I'm saying, he could have not broke me in. So I do give credit to Payne, you know what I mean, and he did carry that show, you know what I'm saying, and he helped introduce me, like, yeah, this is Flick or whatever, you know what I'm saying. And, you know, it was cool, you know, being a part of that. As far as his ego and the drugs and shit, like, yeah, you know, but I seen that shit so much with my mom where it didn't really affect me. You know what I'm saying? Like you would think. It was like I was used to it. I was kind of numb to it. You know what I'm saying? And shit, man, XTV was so new to me at the time. Like, just all these different people, you know what I'm saying? And imaginations and all this shit. But, yeah, it was cool, you know, at first. And, you know, the shit did pretty good. It don't have a legacy, though. Nah. I mean, it has a bit of a legacy as far as the N64 era. I mean, no. The early PlayStation era, because you actually came back when we had N64 week during A Bug's Life, and I think it was just you. You know, nobody paid attention. Nah, you know. People were just like, dude, so much has changed, and, you know, it was something that worked at the time, and eventually, you know, the show did get quite popular because we did a movie called Lives. Oh, yeah. That's true. Forgot about that shit. And it was inspired by Life, of course, the movie with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. And, you know, that to me was my first career high, you know, in XTV. Like, I did A Bug's Life, and that was cool. That broke me in. But to me, this was big, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, we were capturing something of that time, you know what I'm saying? And it was real fun working with different people because when you look at early XTV, everybody just did their own thing. Like, you know, if it was MZ, it was just his show. It wasn't like Spot the Doggy would come in or, you know, this guy, Monster or whatever the fuck. But this was the first time we did a movie and multiple XTV stars were a part of it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just one person. You know, and I think that people before us that did something like that, similar as, you know, Romy and ODD. You know what I'm saying? And they had, you know, sometimes crossed over and shit. But this was something real special. Of course, MZ had a great performance. I hope this isn't jail. Okay. You know what I mean? And he stole the show. But overall, I think everybody had great performances, you know, and it was real fun, you know what I'm saying, during the whole thing, even though the N64 finally fucked up and, you know, all the stuff that happened with that. But, it was good, you know what I mean, to capture something, because I think this is when the PlayStation was just entering, and this is when the 64 was still gone, so MZ still didn't have the show. So it was real special for MZ, you know, it was good to be a part of the main cast, but all credit goes to him, you know what I mean, and it was a lot of fun, and at this point, being at this career high, I just never had this many people admiring me, and you know, I used to get choked up, man, I used to cry, like, because, you know, my past is not a reflection of what I'm experiencing in my present, but all the stuff Miss Daniels was saying to me at that young age all started to come into effect. You know what I mean? And I was appreciating my life more because it meant something. Like, it no longer meant, you know, you're a sorry excuse for a human being, you have a terrible mom, horrible brothers. It didn't mean that anymore. It meant I'm talented and I'm well off and people know my name and people love me. You know what I mean? So, the early success was real good, you know. I think a lot of entertainers will tell you that. Early success is the best. It's the later shit that gets fucked up. You know what I mean? and that's when you're like, I'm quitting because you don't want to deal with this bullshit, you know. But yeah, man, this was high. We move on from that to when you took time off and then returned to XTV Mania. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is, what was you doing when you had that time off? Like, what the fuck? Like I said, man, the journey was a very emotional one. And I had to take time off, man. Like, I had to just really soak it all in. You know what I'm saying? Because so much good was happening to me so fast. Like, really fast. You know what I'm saying? And I just had to just, like, take 6 months off because success was coming so fast. And, you know, I just needed a small break. It was just 6 months. You know what I mean? I know I'm the new guy and I just came in, so it's not really hurting anything. But, you know, coming back at that XTV Mania, getting the pop, because it was a big reveal of who Payne was bringing back. And again, Payne brought me in the business. Now he's bringing me back into business. You know what I mean? And he's the hot guy, so pause. You know, he's the big dude, though. Like, you know, pause again. But, you know, he's the highlight. So, he, you know, it's dope for him to break me into the business, you know, twice. And that's giving more popularity to my name. And I think I bit IQ or Bobby on a leg. You know, he fucked himself up pretty bad. But it was cool, you know what I'm saying? Returning twice and then at that big, the apex of XTV Mania. You know what I mean? I wish we still had that recording because that was another highlight of my career. You know what I'm saying? And I just kept at it. So, popular as fuck now, best. You know, people looking at you as the future of XTV. You do GTA with James. You know what I'm saying? And this is another big ass highlight. This is like, damn, this nigga too popular. You need to quit. Well, prior to this, I was able to show my athletic ability, because what I didn't mention, you know what I mean, sorry to backtrack, but I started wrestling in high school, you know what I mean, and my mom, like, missed every match except one. She was drunk as hell, you know what I mean, but I really loved it. I loved the way it made me feel, you know what I mean, and also, I used to love Shawn Michaels, and I loved all the pro wrestlers. And for a brief time when I was in college, you know what I'm saying, I was like, you know, I was doing stuff like that on the side, like, you know, little small pro wrestling things and getting trained and stuff. And, you know, I had a wrestling match with Just Incredible, where Sides versus ECW. This was like extremely rare, you know what I mean? But this is kind of tap for me. It's what? It's tap. Tact. I had put a stick on Just Incredible's face, and then I jumped off this table in the backyard, and that stick hit my face, and I was bleeding. And I remember being so happy. I RJ smile. White people, heck, white people. So, you know, you're doing good, and oh yeah, I'm sorry, GTA. Talk about that. I ain't taking to talk about that. Yeah, it was just fun, man, GTA. Like, I just kind of came in there to piss James off. I was pretty much the annoying guy, pissing off the sort of straight character, but he eventually loses his edge, you know what I mean, because, you know how it goes, pretty much like a buddy comedy, and that shit was fun too, you know, but this wasn't a real high point, because XTV was in its dark phase after the year 2000. So much shit happened that was cool, and then, you know, 01 was a bit of a letdown. You know, it was more of a dimmer year compared to 2000, because there was a lot more dark things happening, like 9/11 happened that year, Aaliyah passed, you know what I'm saying, and it was just a real dark year. So I don't look at 2001 as the happiest year for Americans, you know what I mean, and I hope nobody feels no kind of way about that, but I really mean it, because, you know, we had a tragedy, you know what I mean, and then the people we were losing in music and stuff like that. Like, stuff was kind of happening back to back that year, and it was like really rough for even us. You know what I mean? We couldn't be entertaining. We couldn't be those smiling faces and shit because we were hurting too. And GTA was fun and everything, but really it's dark compared to what I was first doing. A Bug's Life, Disney, compared to GTA. You know what I mean? It's a big difference. And that's just what it was. Now, during this point of your success, did any family members reach out? Yeah, this crazy, dude, because I had fake people like pretending to be aunties and uncles, and I didn't know the real from the fake because when I wasn't anything, like, it was just me, my brother, and my brothers and my mom, and so I didn't know if these people were real or fake because they didn't come see us when I was young, you know what I mean? So it was just crazy. And I listened to the Marshall Mathers LP a whole lot, and my hair was blonde. Okay. Now, CAW comes into the picture. Wow. This is another big hot point for your life, would you say? Definitely. Because now I was doing multiple tasks. I was being an athlete, like I, was saying with the Just Incredible thing, like, we put on a hell of a show, and I just wanted to show that to XTV. And that's one thing I like about XTV is I'm really able to show all forms of what I'm able to do. I'm an athlete, you know what I mean? I'm a good talker. I'm a whole lot of different things, and this was that next medium I could use to show my athletic ability. And I had classic matches, you know what I mean? Like, what can't be said. My feud with D-Matic, of course, like, that's been talked about forever. But it was just, I think D-Matic said it best on Justin's podcast, like, it was just really a big misunderstanding. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until that middleman, which was Payne at the time, went away, where we were able to become the best of friends. You know what I'm saying? And we still are good friends to this day. Don't let a lot of the FNK tapes fool you. We may argue, or whatever, but like, truthfully, we're friends. Like, we're good friends. You know what I mean? And that's just my homie. Word. And MZ, that was another guy I got into a feud with. I don't know, man. Sometimes when you're that young, you feel so good, like you don't care, you know what I mean? And I kind of started to get a careless attitude because, like I said, success came to me fast, so I didn't have no chill, you know what I mean? So I probably did some stuff to upset people and didn't think twice about it, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm successful, what are you going to do? That was my mentality at the time, sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have no ground really, and so I'm not going to say, MZ is what caused our feud because he hated on me or whatever. I am going to say that I probably did do something to piss him off at that time. And, it was probably my big mouth. And, karma is real because, certain things happened over time. But it's a feud that, it was a highlight for CAW. But, I wish it didn't happen in hindsight. But that, again, is a dead feud. We're no longer beefing like that. We're friends. That's the homie. This shit's stupid. You alright? Yeah. Sorry. And of course, my most popular feud with Moonsault. Damn, best. Moonsault did a podcast, I think with Jazz Mark, and he talked about this feud. Give your opinion. I just didn't understand what made him more popular. You know what I mean? It's like an artist you know what I mean, who had nothing. Like he didn't have anything. You know what I'm saying? And he used a pine cone, some of his own blood, you know what I'm saying, and like just really nothing to make the best painting of all time. You know what I'm saying? It's like picture that artist. And he worked really hard. It took him maybe 10 years to finish that picture. 2 years to get people to see it, but when they seen it, they described it as the most innovative, creative art piece. And he worked really hard to do that, to present that and make that. You know what I mean? He worked really hard. And then you see somebody that just said, fuck. Oh my God, that's like way more popular. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot more popular than this old ass picture. You know, and you're like, wait a minute, dude. Like, you feel like this guy didn't work this hard. This guy didn't come from this or deal with this and come from it. Like you're like, dude, he didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, people are now looking at you like you're jealous. And you're like, no, he just said something basic. Like, my opinion is he's a basic person. You know, and they're like, no, your opinion is you're jealous or whatever. You know, and that's kind of how, that's how I put that. Like, I see Moonsault is nothing that special. You know what I'm saying? And I think I used to say that. And the first time we met, they said, prove that he's not that special, best. And he kicked my ass. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I didn't want to believe I lost. Like, I didn't want to believe that. I'm like, I didn't lose. No, I didn't lose. You know, and I fought him again and again and lost and lost and lost. You know what I'm saying? And man, I just you know, it's just one of those things where when you get to a certain peak where you think you're the best ever, there's always going to be somebody that's like way better than you. You know what I mean? Ready to like challenge you to the bullshit you talk. You know, and Moonsault put me through the test multiple times and has won, you know, multiple times. But we had a great feud. We had great ladder matches, and you know, I was winning so much where I was forgetting my past, where I was a loser, where me losing those matches that fast, when I thought I was hot shit, it started to remind me of the life I had. And I was trying, and I was thinking I'm going into that thinking, so that thinking is going to lead me into going into that path. So I got crazy, you know what I mean? I'm like, I can beat him, and started using weapons and whatever, but Moonsault would beat me. And I started randomly attacking him because I felt like that was the only way I could win. Is if I randomly attack him, sneak him from behind and hit him with ladders and stuff, maybe then, you know what I'm saying, I won't feel that way. And the whole time I wasn't realizing how it was making me look to the audience. You know what I mean? But I was lost in my own hype. Like, that's what I really put that on. You know what I'm saying? Yes, the feud is my fault. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't have went on that long. He beat me multiple times. It's done. Move on. You know what I'm saying? Be better in another avenue. You can't beat Moonsault, best. Damn, dad, you dissed the shit out yourself. Yeah, you know. But that's just how I feel with that. We've been patched things up. Again, like, that's just another dead feud in my life. You know what I'm saying? I think every feud that I've ever had is at this point, I consider it dead. I don't know what other people feel or think. Like, everybody I ever had a problem with is over with. You know what I'm saying? It's a new life. Like, this is XTV, and we're really planning on a whole new era. So, you know, if you have any bitter feelings towards me, get over them. Well, doing this, best, you still are pretty popular. You know what I'm saying? And you did Vice City. You know, with James. Again, GTA comes back, and this is the only show that does really well in 2003. Boy, man, I just had fun. You know, everybody that worked on that show, from Trunks to me to James to everybody, will tell you that was like the last fun time during the Sides era. You know what I mean? That was like the final cap off to me. It's us doing that shit because it was just so much fun. And you know, the return episodes. Give me a second. The return episodes were really good. You know what I mean? And they do hold up pretty well. At the time, it was mixed reviews and all this, but at this point, I think it's pretty. You know, those are great. You know, I think partly because those are the only things we have to remind us of the early Vice City episodes we would do. You know what I'm saying? But it was just so big. You know what I'm saying? And we feel like it can't get this big. Like it can't get bigger than this. You know what I'm saying? My favorite episode that we did was that time that we jumped over this, like, it's this area on GTA Vice City. It's like, I don't know what shit's called, but you get on top of this building with a motorcycle and you can like jump off of this roof with the motorcycle and then like it goes into this little Hollywood set or some shit. And man, we used to try that shit every time we played and it didn't do it. But one time we did that shit and it was like, yes! You know what I mean? And the set was like, it was cool. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's like a glitch. Like, I think the area is only open when you do a mission for that area. But we did it before we were in this area before we did the mission. Because we tried hard to leap and go into this Hollywood area. But like, man, just the tedious task of doing that. Payne and D-Matic, you know what I mean? They were funny. It was a good cast to work with. It was just backstage, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, we work on set, we don't like each other, so let's not talk to each other after the shit's done. But yeah, 90, that was the most fun I had, you know, up to that point in 2003. You know what I'm saying? That's real good, Dad. You know, you go from Vice City to, you still in CAW. Yeah. What made you change your name to the best? When I won, when they were not giving me a shot because of my behavior, you know what I mean, and me attacking Moonsault on different CAW shows and referee Woody, I was just like so in a dude, I'm better than this mode. When I won the MLW, WCW, WWE, and had the CAW title, I won that and left the CAW and won all these other championships from other places where I'm like, dude, I'm not Flick, because I kept saying that on the card. It was like Flick versus such and such, Flick versus such and such, and I'm like, dude, I'm the best. You know what I mean? Like, it was ego, and I just really felt like I was the best at this point. You know what I mean? And there was no proving that, you know. And so I finally, you know what I mean, went to the WWE, and you know, it was when I went there though, like when I was realizing I was tired of seeing Flick versus Big Show. You know what I mean? Like, who's gonna take somebody, a champion serious named Flick? You know what I mean? Like, nobody's gonna sit there and be like, oh my God, I'm going for Flick. You know, it's gonna be like, no, I'm going for best. You know what I'm saying? And I just decided to change it to that. And those early days in the WWE for me, man, were really rough. But yeah, dude, it was just, I remember Bradshaw was in the locker room, you know what I'm saying, and he was just like, you know, just talking to all these different people, and you know, he comes up to me, he's like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm the best. Like, he thought I was a fan coming in, and it wasn't a rib or anything. It wasn't like he was fucking with me, like saying, oh, you know, get the hell, like, he was dead serious. It was him, and it was real security guards, you know what I mean, because I seen them, you know, take fans out earlier that evening. So when I came in, he was like, oh, here's another one, who are you? You know what I mean, where's your pad, where's your badge? And it was like, he was serious, and I'm like, dude, I work here, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like, it was one of those things, like, just cause you're popular in one country doesn't mean you're shit in this country. Like, I was popular in XTV, CAW, all these different things I did, but this is a different ball game. This is the WWE, you know, and they don't care what I did for something else. What am I doing for them? You know what I mean? Who are they letting in? And I had to really work. You know what I'm saying? It was hard, you know, it was really tough. Like, working for one place, getting a name, now I'm just a complete nobody to all these different people. And I had to really grind hard, man. And what a lot of fans have asked me is about, of course, the infamous Team War pay-per-view. 90. Look, man, you know, I feel like my last peak in the size era was Vice City, but this new beginning, when I became the best, it was Team War 1. You know what I'm saying? Like, not winning all them damn championships there? Yeah, that too. But this was like, I'll say second thing, because, man, this was so creative. You know, I think it was inspired by WWF Invasion and, you know, Super Duper for whatever reason. In 2004, he liked the Invasion angle of 2001. So, you know, he just kind of just, you know, made his own little thing. And Team War 1 was a lot of fun. You know what I'm saying? CAW versus the WWE. Everybody like, damn, Best, like, how come you're not on Team CAW? You know what I mean? Because fuck CAW. They tried me. And, you know, that was the, I guess, boiling point with me and Payne's feud, because he was on the opposite team. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even think we fought. I think, like, it was just a team war. And, you know, eventually the WWE won, and I kicked Paul Heyman's ass for whatever reason. Yeah, people was wondering, dog. They was like, was that shit real? Because you had that nigga throat. Like, I seen that throat in your hand. Nah, it was just well played, you know what I'm saying? And we had a good time, though. You know what I'm saying? You had a good time choking a nigga? Did he have a good time? No. I mean, yes. You lying, Dad. You lying. You lying your ass off. Now, this was big for you. You the champion, dog. Like, what was life like for you at this point? Dude, it was a new life. You know what I'm saying? It was a new beginning. Having all these championships and, you know, having this newfound love at another place, it felt really good. And I was very privileged to be a part of it. You know what I mean? I used to just, like, the fans, dude, at the time, they were like, best. You know, and they used to love me, dude. Like, I remember, man, I really felt like a rock star. And at this point, dude, like, I didn't think, you know what I mean, that I was a failure. You know, and that's where I was trying to get to. Because CAW was reminding me of my failures, because the company wasn't doing well, you know what I mean, and all these other different things that came with it. Me and Moonsault's feud, I keep losing. Now here I am at another company, working my way back up just to not feel like a loser. So I felt really privileged to be a part of that. Now, this is like something totally different. But people want to know. People really want to know this. Bobby Classic, I'm just going to say it. IQ. You know, Bob is like a childhood friend that a lost child has. You know what I mean? Like, to me, Bobby was just a childhood friend at this point. You know, I'm going to honestly say that I don't have any problems with Bob, but at this point, me and Bob are not real friends. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the truth at this point, you know. When we were younger, he used to just have my back. You know what I mean? He just had my back. I remember, like, he used to just, like, every little thing, it's like, even on the day of reckoning, you know, like, sometimes when we got a recording where he's just, I'm fighting in a match, and he's like, dude, if you don't like the best, you're stupid. Like, look at these moves he does. Look, he's going to call this the best attack drop. Look at, you know, and he was, like, putting me over really good, you know what I'm saying? And we were best friends, dude. Like, no matter what I did, he was behind me. And no matter what he did, I was behind him. And I don't know what happened, but I know it did get to a certain point where it was like, he wasn't rooting for me like that no more. You know, I think it was when he started to get his success. I mean, he just started to, like, forget about the people that helped him. You know what I'm saying? When he was down. You know what I'm saying? And it felt like he turned on me, like, seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like, because when I was in my real downward spiral in 08, like, he would be on the opposite team saying, yeah, he fell off and that's good for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, every time I'm at, like, a low point, he's never there. Like, he's always there to, like, discredit me and continue to cheer on fuck best. He sucks. He's an asshole. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and if you're a real friend, you don't do that. So that's why I say, you know, Bob is not my friend. You know what I'm saying? I wish him well, though. You know, whatever happens, like, I wish him very well in whatever his journey leads him. But at this point, I'm gonna honestly say on 90s Real Podcast, I can't say that word. Dude, we're not friends. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna call you out your name. I'm not gonna fight you at Sides of Mania. It's not that serious to me. We're not friends, and that's all. Real nigga shit on the Real Nigga Podcast. Shooting. This nigga shooting. Put the gunshots in. Put the gunshots in right there. Yeah. Damn. I mean, cause my earliest memory of y'all feud getting real crazy is that time he slapped that nigga on the stomach. Why the stomach? This was a point when Bob would talk shit and nobody could beat him. He was unbeatable. You know, I don't know what was going on, but he would just say the most fucked up shit. And he'll just hide behind it by saying, oh, I'm just being real, or I'm just being this. And it would just be like, no, dude, you're just being an asshole. You know what I'm saying? And it got to a point where people was trying to challenge him. You know, it's like, dude, I'm going to kick your ass. Fuck you. And people would lose because he was so good athletically. You know what I'm saying? And I just got mad. Because he said that I was just going to quit. You know what I'm saying? He said, like, because we were fighting in an Iron Man match, I think 60 or 15 minutes. And he was just like, best, you're going to quit in the middle of the match, and I'm going to win. I'm like, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to beat your ass for talking shit. And well, you know, we got into, you know, the Iron Man match. We get into the fight. And, you know, I'm mad as fuck. I'm pressing all the buttons. He keeps repressing everything I'm doing. He keeps getting this special, keeps fucking me up. I'm keep being close to getting knocked out. It's like 10 minutes in the match. I'm pissed off, and I quit. And he's like, told you you're going to do that. And then Joad lays down, and his whole stomach shows. And his whole stomach shows, and I just remember just slapping the shit out of that damn thing. Oh shit, daddy. Oh man. And that's just what I remember, man. I slapped the fuck out of it because it was nothing else I could do. Nothing else I could prove. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I lost my temper, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's where that comes from. But prior to that, even, you know what I'm saying? He had this ego, dog. It just seemed like the more popular he got, the more, you know, shit he talked to the people that helped him get to that point. You know what I mean? We were there with you on your low. You know what I mean? Now that you're high, you can't be with us. It was like that. You know what I mean? It was a slap in the face. And that was the person, you know, when I got into the business, like, I thought he was cool, you know what I'm saying? He didn't do drugs like everybody else was. He was clean and he was just normal like me. It wasn't until he got popular where he got like that, you know what I mean? That's why, you know, me and Bob aren't friends. You know what I mean? Crazy shit. It's crazy. And it's doo-doo. Well, moving on. From your perspective, what's gonna make this shit probably even way more longer? Your feud with the Pain. One of the best feuds in the WWE's history. You know what I mean? Prior to us, it was Kickboxer and Pain that had their feud going on. You know what I mean? And it was dope, dude. Like we both came from CAW. And just the build up for me was what was good. You know what I mean? All our qualities we had. It's just crazy how different we were from each other. Like he brought me into the business. You know what I'm saying? And he brought me into the business twice actually. Like then we kind of separated from each other. And then other people were getting involved. Like we were there with each other in CAW. Didn't see each other. We were there on the set of Vice City. Didn't really interact with each other like that. You know what I mean? But it got to a point where the fans were just kind of looking at stats and looking at, belt rankings and all that. And they were saying, dude, you know what I mean? Because we both were really good. Like, it took us some time, of course, to get adjusted to WWE and the politics with that. But just the way we adjusted and the way we got better and the way we got good, it was similar, you know what I mean? And just the similar stories with different fighting styles. It makes for a great build-up. It makes for a great movie. You know what I mean? And that's really what I look at our feud as, a big-ass movie. You know what I'm saying? It was great, you know what I mean? All the different things that happened. I think that Pain told the story a lot better, you know what I'm saying, than I can ever tell it. Like, that was the best way we could tell the story of me and Pain's feud. But, I think that us meeting that night on WrestleMania 31 was so much classic shit happened that pay-per-view. It was just like, dude, Angle and NMM. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, that's another guy I gotta talk about. NMM, dag. Hold on. Finish your Stevie. Yeah. It's just that NMM and Angle, like, they stole the show. It's like no denying that shit. Stop. Sorry. It's no denying that. You know what I'm saying? And that was classic. That ladder match with Harlem Heat, Edge and Christian, and the Hardys, and I think the Dudleys. That shit was incredible. It was like a TLC match. It was like crazy. It's like all these different things happening on a card. You know, I think some of the fans were exhausted by the time it came to our main event. And I wouldn't say our match sucked like he said, but I'll say it was a disappointment. You know what I mean? Compared to just the hype we were getting. And, all the stuff that was leading up to it. You know, because it's actually on one of the XTV's Raw shows, or SmackDown. One of them is actually like a part of the old school match of the day, or whatever they called it. But it's just that I think we did have a better match on SmackDown. But at that point, the audience already went to see Star Wars the first week. The second week, the people that couldn't afford that money went to see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of how it was. We did good, you know what I'm saying? But it was just like, the second week, Pirates of the Caribbean wins. You know what I'm saying? Nobody cares about your feud, no matter how good it was on SmackDown. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, SmackDown's the B show, so nobody really cared. But I think we had a brilliant feud. I think the story of the feud is a lot better than any match we ever had after. Overall, we told a great story. You know what I'm saying? And I worked with a great competitor, and I know I used to always diss Pain and all this stuff and put him down, but I'm really at a point where it's like, dude, he broke me in the business. You know what I'm saying? Not many people would do that, you know, and he probably was high when he did it, but still he did it. And as a result, I'm on your podcast. Real shit. Real shit, that real shit. Now, we move on to NMM, who I forgot to mention, you know, Best, you teamed up with him and won various tag team championships with him and all these different things. Like, how did this happen? Well, I was the European U.S. champion, and I felt like the next phase was the tag team championship. And, you know, NMM just broke up with Undertaker, pause, and, you know, it's just that they had just, you know, stopped being a tag team. So I think I pulled him aside and was like, hey man, you know, we should go after it. And shit, from there we became tag team of the year of 2003. Oh no, 2004. You know what I'm saying? And man, he was just good. You know what I'm saying? Our styles just met. And that's a dude, that's a good friend in the business, you know. We still talk. Like, he just understood me, you know what I'm saying? And I just loved how creative his interests was. And they always was creative and new. You know what I mean? Hey, we just got along. I think what he related to was my story. You know, it's only a few people I've shared my story with. NMM and Trunks and all these different people. But, you know, overall, NMM was real cool. And it was good holding down the tag team championships with him for as long as we did. Cool. Moving on, Day of Reckoning enters the picture. Bye-bye the WWE. That was a new era, and the Iron Man matches we would have with myself and Pain, dude, those were just, this was a big, like, this was a highlight in XTV now, you know what I'm saying? And this is when my popularity from the WWE carried over back to XTV, because XTV was watching their guy doing all this different stuff. So now I come back extremely popular, and I'm like number 2 or number 3 on WWE Raw. You know what I'm saying? And now Day of Reckoning comes, and man, I won the heavyweight and lightweight championship, and I was just at such a height. Like, there was no coming down, you know what I'm saying? And this is the end of my career, though, you know, or the beginning of the end of my career, I would say. And what makes you say that, right? I'll talk about it later. You she? Yeah, I'm she. You reading? No, not reading. So, F&K comes into the picture too. Oh man. Let me just say that, you know, every time any XTV star talks about F&K, understand that this left such an impact and such a legacy where we have to be long-winded with describing it, because this was the first ever medium we could use to really express our feelings, you know what I'm saying, and our thoughts, our most inner, deepest, darkest, hurtful thoughts, and put them out in a creative way, you know what I'm saying. And we didn't used to have that shit, not even HY, you know what I mean. So this was fun. The early episodes, it was just us trying, and then we didn't have to try anymore, you know what I'm saying. And FNK was great. We brought in Killer and all the people that we dealt with and that came in and out when it was just supposed to be me and Trunks. It was a lot of fun, you know what I'm saying? Because the show just became, okay, F&K and shit happens. And a lot of shit happened, you know what I mean? And dude, there's not a F&K episode you can't not listen to except for 5 episodes. You know what I'm saying? I can honestly say that. And I think that that's something that's going, the legacy of FMK is going to carry over forever. It ended in 2012 because it was not needed, because it's at this point where newer stars should have a voice. And we see that with Jazz Mar. You know what I'm saying? Like, he gives credit to FMK because now it's showing that people can just be themselves. You know what I'm saying? And the legacy of FMK is forever. And being a part of it was cool, you know. So from that, the Real World Tampa, the first season that you was a part of, that's, yeah. Damn, babe. This was a new step in my life because now it was really life. You know what I'm saying? I know that sounds like it doesn't make sense, but pretend it does. But like, I'm just saying that life for me at this point, like, was like, okay, win the belt, champion, celebrate. You know, that was my lifestyle. But now I met a woman that I really liked. You know what I'm saying? And I just remember, man, I would look down at her feet, and I would kind of glance over and see her looking at my feet. And as I glance over and look into her eyes, looking at my feet, her eyes will look up to me, looking from her feet up to me. Then I smiled, and she smiled. And then a guy with a camera said, "Hey, I work for Chris. Smile." We looked at the camera and smiled. You know, it was just something, it was love I never had before. And I didn't know what to do with myself because I never been in love. I never, you know, felt love like that. Like, I was new to all of these different things happening, but now this was the point where it was like, oh, it's time to settle down. You know what I'm saying? And, man, me and Jasmine just hit it off. So what hit it off about her now? Like what made her so special? I can't even say, you know what I mean? Like, her presence was special. It wasn't like no body parts. It wasn't like nothing like I was really staring at. It was her overall presence. You know what I mean? She gave this feeling that I felt, this aroma that I felt. Like, nobody else was paying attention to her. That's why I felt like she was meant for me. You know, first it was a thought, and then it was a feeling, and then it became a reality after a while. You know what I mean? And I started to slowly talk to her about my feelings and my thoughts, and she just said, "I feel the same way." You know, and man, she was cool, dude. Like, she was so down to earth, and you know, compared to how I talk, my dialogue, you know, which is a bit urban, you know what I mean, compared to her very soft-spoken, sweet, you know what I mean, personality. She used to laugh at me, you know what I mean. I laughed at her. We laughed together, like, you know what I mean. We were close, and every episode of The Real World, we were all together, always together, you know what I'm saying. And I just, like I said, I never experienced love like that. And after a while, you know, I think we had sex. We just did, you know, and it was my first experience. It's alright, Dad. It's alright. You know what I'm saying? At least you fucked. Some niggas ain't gonna never fuck. That's fucked up. But, you know, we just made love, you know what I mean? And everything just felt right. Like, the mood felt right. It was storming outside. You know what I'm saying? And just everything was right. And then we had sex. You know what I'm saying? And found out a few days later she's pregnant. And, you know, that was like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? This is going way too fast. I think a few months later. Did I say a few days? I'm stupid. But a few months later, you know what I'm saying, I find out she's pregnant. She tells me. And that's when a jealous boyfriend comes in. I didn't know she had a boyfriend. I didn't know she was married. You know what I mean? He's coming there to kick her ass and to beat me up. He shoots me in the leg. You know what I mean? I'm in the wheelchair, and like, dude, talk about this, Dak. You got shot. Bet you been through a lot of shit. Exactly. You know, it was on the first season of The Real World. I don't think we have this tape anymore. But he comes up there, sees me hugging Jazz Nisha, and you know, he just shoots me out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And it hit my leg, you know, and that shit hurt. You know what I mean? I just remember being in pain. You know what I'm saying? And shit was really rough. You know, and I think some days later, I think he gets arrested, and I find out that, you know, she's pregnant, but I think I started to figure, like, because the way her stomach was starting to look, I'm like, you know, she would just change her due dates out of nowhere. She'd be like, oh, my due date's this day, and she would just keep changing it and changing it, and I'm like, is that his baby? You know, and, you know, that whole story started to kick in, where I felt she was cheating on me, and she had the baby, you know, and I'm like, whoa, you know, and the baby had a disability or whatever, and, you know, that's when things were getting, like, really rough, because I just felt like she wasn't being honest. I felt she wasn't being real, you know what I mean, with certain shit. And we got into a lot of shouting matches, and, you know, she kept threatening, and it was a mess, dude. It was a real mess, you know. It's just unfortunate, you know what I mean, what happened with her overall. Like, you know, her committing suicide and my baby dying, you know what I mean? And it was just like, once the series was wrapped up, it was like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way that shit happened, dude. Like, I signed up for The Real World, and all these different things happened, and once it was all said and done, and I'm having a good life, and all this stuff going on, it was just taken away from me once the camera stopped rolling. And once the camera stopped rolling on The Real World, dude, like, I just wasn't happy anymore, like, with nothing. You know what I mean? I mean, even during the process of, like, summer break of that year, 2005, having all these championships started not to matter. You know what I'm saying? Just stuff started not to matter to me, because I guess what was happening is I started to see Big Ten money. You know what I mean? I started to see his mom saying, oh, baby, you want another belt. You know what I mean? And starting to see these different things, it had an effect on me, because going back to my childhood, you know what I mean? I got a girl pregnant, but I wasn't able to share this experience with my mom. And of course, all the drama I'm dealing with. And, you know, it became way too much for me. Like, a lot of stuff. And I didn't know how to handle it mentally. And as a result, I would spaz out. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have did that to Miss Joe at summer break. And then once I won that belt, I'm like, thank you, the fans. And they booed the shit out of me. Like at summer break, I think toward the end, I'm like, yeah, fam, I'm sorry for, you know, doing all this stuff. And they booed the hell out of me. You know, and that was the beginning of the end. That era. Like, seriously. Because I started to lose endorsements. You know what I mean? And the WWE was like completely over. So it was like I started losing fans, endorsements, and all these things. And it was slow at first, but the decline just really kicked in, you know what I mean? At that XTV Mania in '07, you know, when Beast picked me up in the air, and I said, this could be it right here, man. And he slammed the shit out of me, and I was knocked out. Bess, what the fuck happened in that match? Oh my gosh, dude. It's just, you know, I was fighting Beast. Like, I came there at that XTV Mania, you know what I'm saying? And I just felt this tension in the crowd. Like, just every time I came out, you know, in CAW or the WWE or wherever I was, I would just hear this cheer. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the best. They were happy to see me. You know what I'm saying? But this night was different. Like, it was just this kind of sort of quietness. Like, I had a few people happy, But it was just this vibe that was just like something isn't right. You know what I'm saying? Like something's just not right. And dude, like I was fighting the best I could. Me and Beast, we actually did put on a good match. But this is just something about the feeling in the room that ultimately, when Beast had me in the air, I said, this could be it right here, man. Because I just was in the air and I'm looking like, this is going to really fucking hurt. You know what I mean? And damn, he slams me, KO. And that to me was like my downfall. That was it. You know what I'm saying? As far as FNK, that was a great era in 07. Like, we had fun. You know what I mean? There's no denying that. But as far as like XTV East Coast, I was eradicated. You know what I mean? And it started like I was like completely gone from the East, declining on the West. And shit got really bad. You got into a feud with me, Best. Yeah. You was a little shit talker. I mean, putting you on this podcast, I'm be honest, was hard work. You know what I'm saying? Cause people was like, man, you and Best had a feud. And I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And well, I said, you know what? A lot didn't change. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of ideas are different. A lot of thoughts are different. So as a result, I said, let that nigga on the podcast, see what he got to say. And you done said a lot of loo. A lot of loo. But what I didn't like about you at the time is that you just used to diss the shit out of me for no reason. Why you did that? Huh? Cause I don't know, man. I thought you were lame. Yeah. I just thought you were lame, and I just talk shit, you know what I mean? And I don't know, dude. You know? No, don't kill me. But I'm gonna say at this point, you know what I'm saying, me allowing you on this podcast is showing you that I forgive you. You know what I'm saying? You was damaged. I understand that you had a real rough background. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm gonna just don't give nobody no opportunity to fuck with me just because I'm letting him get by for fucking with me cause he was going through whatever he was going through. I still kick your ass. You know what I'm saying? But now I realize, you had a rough upbringing and a rough, successful life as well, I would say. And as a result, you probably took that out on a few people. You mentioned MC, you know what I'm saying, and a few others. So I just want to let you know to be dead. Oh yeah, it's definitely over. You know what I mean? I don't want to fuck with you. Don't want to be in the way when my gat goes off. Anyway, so you also got into a feud with Killer. You know what I'm saying? He used to, shit. Like, I'm one of the reasons Killer is so successful. On that tape, TXG Memos, when he rolled my ass, it was just like played over and over because he was killing me. You know what I mean? And I think I probably said some shit on there like, why do you keep making fun of me? You know what I mean? Yeah, Dad. Huh? Nothing. Oh, yeah. What's going on here? Anyway, yeah, Killer was just riding my ass, man. It was funny. Yeah, Killer had that tongue to, like, you know what I'm saying, make you and break you at the same time. And like, how are y'all now? I haven't heard from Killer in a while. You know what I mean? He's ultra successful though at this point. So I don't really expect to, but I'm happy for him either way. Now, we got a few more things to talk about before we wrap this up, Best. It's been put on a poll that you got into the most fights on Cracker Out. Yeah. Todd was a shit talker, but I just feel like I had to fight. Like one thing, my whole career, like I just always felt I had to fight for something. You know what I mean? And the whole time I thought I was fighting, I was really running away from something. Like I was running away from being looked upon as soft or weak. You know what I mean? That's why I beat Moonsault like I did. That's why I did all these different things I did to look a certain way. Not to really be what I was trying to look like, but to look like that shit. You know what I mean? And I didn't understand what it was to be myself because I got lost in the hype of who I was. So I felt like I had to maintain an audience. And the whole time I'm trying to maintain them, I'm losing myself. And when you lose yourself, you lose your audience. So, you know, it was in the process of that. Me fighting a fight I couldn't win because it was ultimately with myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure I got into a lot of confrontations on that shit with Killer, D-Matic, everybody. You know, I just was at a very low point. You know, and it shows when I win the first and second Wayne Award of 08 and 09. And how did you receive that news, Dak? I think somebody threw it at me. You know what I mean? I think I got a call at like early in the morning. You know, and somebody was like, we got a package for you, Best. You know what I mean? They said my whole full government name. And I'm like, yeah, package? And I'm like, what is this? And somebody just threw this damn trophy at me. You know what I'm saying? And it said, lamest of the year. And that was the first time I won it. You know what I'm saying? And because it wasn't prestigious, they just threw it at me. You know what I mean? And made sure it hit me. And, you know, this was really a rough time for me. Like, it was bad. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have anybody. And I chased off all the people that were trying to come my way. Bobby at this point was at the height of his success, so he didn't care either. And then, you know, 09, I won it again, the Lame Award. And, you know, that time it was a little different. I think, how did I receive that one? I think somebody hit me with a chair and kicked me in the leg and then threw the trophy at me and something like that. You know what I'm saying? Then I called the police on them, and then the police arrested me for being lame, and you know, I got a mugshot picture with the award. Sad shit, Dad, but you deserved it. Now, during all this low point in your career, Best, what was happening, Dad? You know what I'm saying? XTV just didn't want to see me anymore. Like, they were not into me. You know, Killer was doing so much stuff that was so much better. And, you know, me, I was at the worst you could ever get. I was on that list. And, I had to block out all negativity, though, is what I eventually had to do. And I had to do this for me. And, you know, I felt like whether me trying to come back and win makes or breaks me, I'm going to die trying. You know what I'm saying? Whether it breaks me or makes me. And, you know, when 2010 came, I came out to Eminem, not afraid. I knew they were going to call me lame, but I was back. You know what I mean? I felt I was back. Like, I tried to come back multiple times prior to that, but at this point, it was like, no, dude, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? And it worked, you know, and like I've been, you know, steady since, you know, popularity-wise, I would say. It's true, Bess, you know what I mean? You've maintained your popularity. I think, you know, Justin and them might have killed you a little bit with some of the shit they've been saying. Oh, yeah. It's all in fun, though. You know what I mean? Even when I was saying the N-word like I was saying it, you know, honestly, it's just all in just me fucking around, you know what I mean? I really want to give credit to Justin, though. Like, one thing I do want to say is, Justin, if I did ever upset you, you know, I do apologize, you know what I'm saying? Because even when I was at my lowest, that was the person that was in my corner. You know what I'm saying? And I really do appreciate that. It's like nowadays, I'm realizing who really was in my corner and who wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And Justin would always say, make no mistake about it, love or hate best, he's still going to go out there and he's still going to win. You know what I'm saying? And I just really appreciate that about him. Like, he's just always there for a person at his lowest. He can see quality in everybody as opposed to the people that sees flaws in everybody that's doing bad. You know what I'm saying? I was at a real rough stage in my life, and Justin would just be like, oh man, you know, this is, you know, I see such and such in them, and you know, this is getting better, he'll put me over, you know. But I just want to say that I want to put that out there, that Justin, I highly respect you. Thank you for doing these podcasts like you did. You see what it is inspired. You know, you're a legend to me. You're a great friend to me. You know what I mean? Make no mistake about it. Like I said, I apologize for the N-word shit. You know what I mean? But like overall, you know, that's what it is. And you know, B-Boy is a good friend. You know what I'm saying? And as far as the best foundation, because I think people are going to ask me about that. Like, you know, oh, you and Bobby don't get along. What about the best foundation? The thing with Bobby is he's too down selfish. He's selfish. But no, it's like, yeah, we can do that. You know what I'm saying? We can work together. You know what I mean? But that's all it is. It's just business related. Overall, you know, I really don't look at Bob as a friend at this point. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just see things. Like, even when they were trying to say I was washed up with, you know, them making jokes like low-key Bob or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, I just seen something in him that was just like, yeah, Bess is going to get washed up again. I seen excitement in him seeing me about to get to this low point. I'm like, dude, fuck you. You know what I mean? You're not real. You're lame as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you dissed him. I thought you said no hard feelings, bitch. Fuck him. He's a bitch. And he's selfish. But there you go, Dad. We done recorded this shit for an hour and 13 minutes. Probably more, because we still got some of the first recording up. What can we expect from you in the future, Bess? I might retire. What? You know what I mean? XTV is really going in a different direction. You know, I feel like the game's gonna come back, and I think I should just really take time off, really, like maybe a hiatus, and really let younger talent get over. You know, I came in this business and got myself popular, you know what I'm saying, and all that stuff. But I never had nobody to support me, you know. I mean, I had Payne, who was in my corner. But, like, I think it's important that I teach younger talent to, you know, not go the direction I went. You know what I'm saying? Not to do some of the things I did and not make the poor choices that I made. I want to be the first person to tell them where to go. I want to manage more than, you know what I'm saying, keep doing this my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Because, dude, the animation right now is where it's at. You know what I'm saying? And not that I'm not creative enough or good enough to be a part of it. I am. But I feel like I'm better as an athlete. And as a result, I'm going to push younger talent to be better athletes than I was. You know what I'm saying? And help them not to go into the path I went into. I wasn't on drugs and all that, you know, like other people were assuming and thinking I'm on pills, I'm doing this. I never was. You know what I mean? I had a dark life, and as a result, I became a bitter person towards everybody. And you know what I mean? Ultimately to myself, which led to my downfall. But I rose up from that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's potential in everybody. And I want to put it across people that you don't have to live your life through the darkness you experienced a long time ago. You can be better than that because you came from it. And that's the message I want to put out to the younger people and everybody coming up. So, you know, that's why I say I might just take a step back, take a hiatus, and, you know, put over younger talent. That's some real shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Because the young niggas is the future. Young niggas is the future. Can I get a amen? Anyway, This has been a great podcast. Great interviewing you, Best. We got to do this shit again. Can't wait. But until next time, this has been a Real Nigga Podcast with your nigga Nandy.